centavos. A mí nadie me dijo que esto iba a ser beneficioso, ni siquiera que iba a trascender.
In Miami, a Republican stronghold, as the recent wave of deportations hit home and the Trump administration moved to end temporary legal status, or TPS. A wave of disappointment.
How did this man grow his Latino support when all I heard on the campaign trail was immigration, invasion, these people are going to kill us, these people are racist, and on and on. So let's take a look at this post. Inhumane, says the Latinas for Trump founder, condemns White House immigration crackdown. And this is where I am just somewhat mystified, because I heard everything that he said. And I know from growing up in white circles that white people don't cherry pick which people of color they like and what they don't like. It's a generalized, they're different from us. They are not the same as us. They're not, quote, real Americans.
So with this, you're a Trump fan, right? Or you're a Trump supporter?
Bro, you know what? I mean, to me, it's all about options, right? So, no, I know, right?
Like I do the white flag quick.
Yeah, I know. No, but like, here are the options for me, right? I mean,
I love that.
I
love what you just said, because it's true. It's true. It was
it
was the best option. Go ahead.
No, but this is why. Look,
Right,
bro.
go ahead.
Number one, I'm Christian, right? So that's what matters the most to me. Number two, I'm conservative, right? Big time conservative. So then 3, as a result of all of that, I'm a Republican, right? So, bro, it's almost like a no-brainer, type of situation. Do I think the guy, you know what I'm saying, is like the best in every, category? Does he check every box? No, he doesn't check every box, He has issues, bro, like anybody. He has a lot of defects, but he does some good things, And I'd rather have him doing what he's doing than to have a leftist doing anything at all.
Or to have the situation we had before.
Dude, that was even like, I mean, what kind of situation was that? It was like a president that was non-existent.
It was a circus.
Yeah, for 4 years, man.
That was a nightmare.
And honestly, a lot of that stuff has spilled over, right? And then all these leftists are saying like, oh my God.
The economy.
But all that stuff is spilling over, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's not like this dude, Trump went in there and just destroyed everything,
Well, here's the way I look at it. With one end, yes, it's spilling over. And trust me, I was on the same page too, like you. La opciones. It was the only, to me, it was the only credible option at the time. And to top it all off, that we were headed the opposite way fast. Like we're on a roller coaster down. So the way I look at it is, when COVID hit, right, prices skyrocketed because what? There was a lack and there was a demand, right?
Sure.
So supply and demand, boom, classic. But what happened is once they got the supply back, they never corrected the supermarkets and everybody and said, "Oh, hey, Papa, you got to bring those prices back down." So what happened? Those guys were like, "Yeah, we're gonna bring it down. Yeah, it's almost there," but they never did. So the prices when you go to the grocery store, I don't see a difference. Yeah. You might get your BOGO here and there and whatever, but to me, you're getting a pack of Air chips for $6.
Yeah,
if you eat chips, most of the food is still the same price.
Yep.
The gas is like, it's a tiny bit lower. Considering where we were at or where we were heading. But here's my thing. What's your perspective? We got 10 months in. How do you feel? From starting to get it started.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's done a lot of good things, right? I think even on immigration, that needed to happen. It's painful, right? Because it's like anything that's new hurts. Anything, it doesn't matter what it is, any program, you know what I mean? Like any implementation of a process, it's going to be painful at the beginning. But brother, it had to happen. These issues have been dragging for decades. This is not brand new. You know what I'm saying? This is not a Trump issue. I mean, this has been going on 30 years, 40 years, I mean, immigration here has been a sour point for a long time.
Well, for 4 years.
So anytime that you make changes, it's going to hurt, at the beginning. And it feels unpleasant. But somebody like Trump needed to come in to implement a lot of the changes, the tariffs. Look, the worst thing that a nation could have is a budget deficit. That's the worst thing you could have. And I welcome the concept of tariffs if it's going to bring that total down. because that's better for us.
I'm
you
in
know?
agreement with the tariffs. He's done a fantastic job on that side.
Yeah.
Here's my thing with it. Here's my take on it. I think people were confused because, like, I live in a predominantly Caucasian area, right? And I think the Hispanics in Florida were confused. The Cubans, the people down there were confused when they were like, yeah, we're going after the illegals. They thought that the Cubans were going to be off the list.
Right, correct.
And so what's happening is you have to understand that I think it might be a bigger situation than what we think, because let me ask you a question. Who do you know who the majority of the population is going to be by the year 2000? I think it's 30 or 35.
I mean, as far as a minority?
Yeah, the minorities now.
Yeah, but you mean Hispanic groups?
Correct, the Hispanic group.
Yeah, so I think that right now, either way, it's Mexicans. I believe Mexicans are number one.
You got to understand that to a Caucasian person, whether you're Cuban, Puerto Rican, or Mexican, you're all the same. Doesn't matter how
you're all
you
absolutely.
are. I don't care if you have blue eyes or not. It doesn't matter.
That's true.
You're all bunched up together. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
There's a confusion in Miami, or I would say in South Florida, where people are thinking like this is like, oh no, we're on the white side, on the right side. No, my brother, it's Hispanic.
Yeah, it's Hispanic. True.
Because the way I look at it, it's like I already felt in my heart when he said in the beginning, I'm gonna get all the criminals and all the illegals out. I was like, let's go. Especially the criminals and the crap that was happening. They were letting go the worst of the worst. And absolutely correct. It's kind of like what happened in Cuba. When Fidel went like that and opened up the gates and he threw the asylums and he threw the people in prison and the worst. And that's fine. I understand it. That's what was happening. But I also knew that there was a loophole there. See, when I look at this now, that's what I was afraid of, is that they were going to go, hey, the lady in la cafeteria, the guy washing the car, the yard guy. Slicing knees. And what happens is, as an American, you have to understand that those are the people that help us succeed.
No, brother, I get it totally. So, and I actually had an experience close up, meaning I don't have to turn on the news, right? My significant other had a couple from Colombia, okay? Wonderful people, all right, dude, hard workers that were cleaning her office. They did such a good job, and she was so happy with them that she said, come into my home and start cleaning my home as well. They started doing that. Then she tells me, you know what? They do a great job, and they're so honest and everything else. Maybe you want to clean your home. Hey, brother, they were cleaning my home as well. Wonderful people from Colombia. Her husband, okay, he was speeding, I want to say, right? He committed some type of traffic infraction. He was speeding, or he had a broken tail light. Something happened.
Lo que sea, whatever.
Lo que sea. He gets pulled over, right? And in 2 seconds, they figured out that he was here illegally, right? So they, take him in. He gets processed, etc., etc. They put an ankle monitor on him, right? Which is just procedure now. And bottom line, they gave him the option to self-deport, right? Or face, the consequence, which means that they can never come back. So they decided to self-deport.
If you fight it, you can't come back.
Right. If the U.S. government has to deport you, then you cannot come back. If you go nicely, right, and self-deport, then you're allowed to enter any future programs, right? In other words. But anyway, the bottom line, that when I found out, bro, that this happened, I felt really sad for them because I knew. That's why I tell you that I already had an experience close up, and I felt really bad, sorry?
What it is, my brother, it's like, I think people are in such a rant, such a excitement about getting rid of all the immigrants. Because I said this back in February or March. I was here chilling with one of my friends, and wealthy dude, Caucasian, here 6 generations, and he was like, no, we got to get rid of everybody, blah, blah. And I was like, my brother, that's how everything's so inexpensive. That's gonna hurt me. That's gonna hurt you. Like, meaning, the reason why these groceries are still kind of balanced off is because we have a person from another country that's carrying 4 watermelons at once versus 1. We got a guy that will cut your yard for 100 versus 180. You got things that balance out your life, so then you can go out and do things and not have to do it yourself or pay top dollar to get it done.
Our farmers are being hurt badly by, they have
If
very
they
good workers.
cross the line, it's going to hurt industries,
They're not
restaurants,
citizens, but they turned out to
hospitality,
be,
all these things.
great.
What did he do?
And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have. And I think we can't do that to
3-4
our
months
farmers.
into
And
it-
leisure too, hotels.
He was like, hey, forget it. We can't do everybody. We
Leisure
have
too,
to
hotels.
scale back, and we
we're
can't
gonna
touch the hospitality
use a
and
lot of
restaurants.
common
and all
sense on that.
It's common sense, my brother. You can't get a steak
Yeah.
for 30. We're getting a steak right now with, a nice plate of dinner, whatever, at a nice restaurant for like, at the cheapest, $35, $50. So imagine if you don't got that Mexican or that Hispanic or whoever it is in that kitchen working and taking care of us. They're the way I saw it, we were getting rid of the criminals and those type of people. So once we started cutting into that other sector, it creates a problem for the normal American citizen that they don't realize, that they don't get.
Yeah. No, I think they're realizing. Trust me, I think they
Businesses realize it. Trust.
Yeah. No, listen, bro, you have a valid point. Yeah, and actually, what you're saying is correct. The thing is that I go back to what I was saying, which a process is painful. Anything new is going to be painful. And illegal immigration, brother, any way you slice it, is illegal. Now, they could have handled it a different way, which is this. Create an immediate program for the people that are not criminals. They're still illegal, but they're not criminals. And offer them some type of amnesty type program, even if it's real strict.
A process.
In other words,
a process.
Something new, right? Like a new program, which is crazy because I came up with one and I posted on my Facebook a long time ago, like months and months ago, right? But I'm not a politician, so it doesn't really matter,
Yeah.
But I think that should have been more the approach. But like I said, it is illegal, dude, and you do have to do these painful things for a little while, and then everything is going to be leveled out. And then at that point, it's when I think they're going to introduce these programs. But I thought they should have had them already.
In my from a business standpoint, we can't even afford another couple months of this.
I get you,
To
bro.
be quite honest with you.
No. Hey, bro, listen.
Because I know
totally-
families that have been
totally
here,
get it.
and here's the thing with it. The normal person that came 15, 16 years ago and has been here working, doesn't have a criminal record, has a little business, has started a family here, but they're not, remember, some of our counterparts are not educated, my friend. They're not ready to, they don't know who to talk to about their legal situation. They don't know
Right.
how to go about it. So what do? They keep working and they keep thinking, as long as I don't do anything bad, as long as I'm hustling and I'm making money and I'm a good citizen, they're gonna leave me alone, and eventually they'll give me an opportunity to do what? To naturalize, to become a permanent resident or something. But
Right.
a lot of them, like you said, if there's no protocol, if there's no program, my brother, they don't know. They're not educated in that sense.
Right.
So there's a thing
Yeah.
where I look at it and it's sad, because I get what you're saying. It's painful. You got to get rid of everybody that came in illegally and then let them figure it out and come back in the right way. And I understand that, because for years Miami was flooded with people that will come on vacation and leave and never leave, right? From all countries.
And worse than that, you mentioned Cubans, Venezuelans, but let's stick with Cubans, just the example. Like they declare political asylum as a reasoning for coming here, right? And this is not all of them.
By the way,
Cuban American.
Cuban. By the way, let's make it clear.
Let's make it clear.
We're taking it on our own. Let's go.
Exactly. Yes, we're Cuban American. And a lot of them would declare themselves in imminent, danger for their life. Political asylum. They come over here, right? And what do they do in 6 months, 3 months, 4 months? I'll tell you what they do. They get a job. Sometimes they even do illegal things, whatever the case. And they start going back to Cuba with gold chains and watches to basically show off in front of the really poor people that are over there, which that in itself is wrong, right? But nonetheless, political asylum implies that you're not supposed to go back there because you're in fear for your life. So people like that ruined it as well.
I didn't
So
know that
this
was
issue,
happening. That's happening?
oh
That's
my,
happening?
oh brother, that's been happening for years.
Wow.
Marco Rubio, right? Secretary of State, he just put a stop to it, this year. But this has been happening for years, and he was talking about it for years as well, right? So this is not a new issue, but it shows you that this illegal immigration component is quite complex. It has tentacles, right? And it has other sides
No,
to
you're
it.
right. And here,
And this is another side to
let
it.
me
You know
tell
what I'm
you
saying?
this part, because what you're talking about, it's seeded, that the seed, the root of that problem comes that when our people, when these Cubans came, because they started coming like early 2000s and started flooding in, they came here and saw you, right? Or saw me. And we're driving nice cars and we have nice jobs and we've been busting our ass to get there to this level. And
Yep.
they immediately want to get into that position that took us 2 generations to get to, our parents, us hustling. They want to get there next week. And
Yeah.
and then the legal things come into play.
Yeah.
Then the chains, like you said,
Mhm.
and then that has dragged down our culture as well. Because for
Yeah.
a long time, I
Yeah.
was very proud to say I was Cuban. I would walk around and be like, well, I'm Cuban,
Yeah.
I'm Cuban. Now I look and I'm like, coño, like,
Because the class, okay, but in fairness, right? Okay, so I gotta throw this in because maybe there's some viewers that are not educated right on the topic that much. So anybody that has come from Cuba in the last 10 years or less, they don't sound like us.
at
Okay.
all.
At all. Like, they don't seem educated the same way. But in fairness to them, they are a product. They are a product of a decaying educational system and social system and every system. So it's really not their fault. Unfortunately, it's really not their fault. They never had an option to be different. It just doesn't exist for them on the island. So they get here and they express themselves in a way that we do not. Our parents, our grandparents, were doctors, lawyers, business owners. Dude, they came in the 70s, the 60s, right? And well spoken, dressed
Educated.
appropriately, educated, everything. And then these folks, and again, it's not all of them. It's probably the greater majority, but it's not all of them. But they come over here, and if you go to the store, you know where they're from because they're on a cell phone having a conversation, and the whole store is hearing about it. Every detail. Because they can't control themselves. Again, it's not their fault.
This guy is just dragging out stuff like, I mean, he's going holiday shopping, but this is...
El animal. ¿Vos ahí? Qué futuro, qué futuro.
Oye, ¿y esa coira en la cabeza?
But this is the reality, brother. And it's a stark difference from the Cubans from the 60s and 70s, right? To the ones 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and such. And there's one more thing, since you were surprised when I brought up the thing about, the chains and the whole thing, there's one aspect that gets worse. Some Cubans started to come here and tell their relatives, hey, you know what? If you want to make fast money and good money here, and you don't want to struggle, be a stripper. That's another thing.
Wow.
Be a stripper. Oh, yeah, be a stripper. So many attractive, young Cuban women, again, not all of them, right? I want to throw that in there repeatedly. No, because I don't want to offend nobody.
You gotta live there, brother. You gotta live there.
Yeah, right? It's like, hey, it's not all of them. But listen, they started to come over here and traveling to their nearest, strip bar, strip club, okay? Applying, which, applying means a dance for the manager or the owner, whatever the case. And brother, that's what they do for their money, okay? And you know what? That sometimes leads to being an escort and other things. But anyway, I'll draw a line there. Then the flip side of that coin, the same family members say, you know what? I know somebody that could get you fake credit cards or fraudulent credit cards. And then them dudes, the guys, form all these fraudulent schemes with credit cards. And they're in the club, popping bottles, renting Ferraris and Lambos and all that. Anyway, bro, the problem was severe. And now that problem's being dealt with,
But you know where I think, and you might not agree with me, but you know where I think all this stems from? in the 80s, they made a movie called Scarface that I didn't
Yeah,
watch.
yeah, it works.
That I didn't watch till like I was like probably like 10 or 13 because I always looked at it and I thought it was so disgusting to the way it made us look. Like I was like, we're
Right.
not like that. Like you know what I mean? It was a weird
Yeah, yeah.
personification character
It was,
character
for sure.
assassination that they did to the Cubans with that movie. But what happened is that movie became what in Miami, Willie?
Yeah, no, for sure. And
That-
still,
that movie,
people still talk about it.
so that movie became something that everybody wants to be like Tony. And Tony was a character. It was a cartoon character of Cubans, basically. And it was drawn up to show us, to minimize us in the nation's eyes, to show us like these you know, uneducated, wild, crazy individuals, and it really didn't justify our people, really. Like that was
No,
like
it didn't. No, man,
a
it didn't.
small minority, because I know my father didn't get involved in none of that shit.
Right.
I know
right.
a lot of people's fathers that didn't get involved, but I know a lot of people's fathers that did too. So it's like
Yeah.
that right there was the stem that started the little seed that started everything. Because if you think about it, when we grew up, when I was a kid, and I didn't realize this till I got older, maybe like 5-6 years ago, I started thinking about things, and I said to myself, I go, dude, when I grew up, a lot of the dads, I was the only one with a dad in my neighborhood. All of them were locked up or dead.
Wow.
And it took time for me to really like look back and go, damn, dude, Fulanito's dad was locked up. This chick that I dated, her dad was locked up. This guy, and it was all the same story.
Yep.
And it was right in the 90s. Everybody was without a dad. And that all came from that generation of why, because there was that cocaine cowboy movement. There was that easy money.
I agree.
And what are
I
you gonna
agree with
do? You part of that movie, there was some realistic parts of it, because it's true. You come to this country, let's say in the 80s, just like right now in the 2000s, and you show up here and you need to go to a grocery store to go work at, or a deli, and you're cutting up and making sandwiches for $2 an hour, and you can't even afford to feed your kids or do anything because nobody wants nothing to do with you. Let's be realistic. In the 80s, nobody wanted to do nothing to do with Cubans. Miami was fully Americanized and was all mostly Caucasians. So at the end of the day, they look around and they're like, can't feed my family, can't do shit. And Fulanito comes up to me, he's like, oye, babo, why are you starving when you can go run this package over here and come do it and get yourself out of the hole and your family out the hole? I can understand it from all angles, because there was men probably back in those days that were like, bro, everybody's doing it, and I'm here comiéndome un cable. The expression is I'm eating the cake here just to like figure things out, right? While everybody getting the easy route. But guess what? That easy route is what caused the systematic problem that we have in the Hispanic community there. That still is relevant if you think about it, because now our generation that grew up with what? Shiny things, nice cars, living that lifestyle. Because I know friends of mine that still live there that need to be in the who of who and the what to what, no matter what happens. Because it's embedded in our minds, because we grew up around celebrities. We grew up around, you know, big parties and showy things and all this craziness. So it's like, when I could see it now, like what you're saying, in the early 2000s, when the Cubans started flooding in and people from different countries, what do they see? They see our generation sort of imitating some of that. Not to the extent, because a lot of us worked, a lot of us made our good money. We went to school, you know, we went to university, like, but they come, and that's the part that I realized early on. I was like, they come over here and they think that you could just jump the escalator, and you can't, my brother, because there's going to be consequences to that shit.
Yeah. No, there's consequences. And again, Marco Rubio took notice, you know, and he's been talking about it for a long time. And now he got the opportunity and he's cracked down. But hold on, because I want to redeem the Cuban Americans with the same sweeping pan that I just used to,
destroy them.
You don't have to highlight all of that. There's one element here that goes unspoken very often.
Go.
You know who built Miami, though?
The Cubans.
Cuban Americans.
Of course.
Because when Cubans started to get here in the 60s and 70s, touching the 80s, right? Not mid-80s, touching the 80s.
Early 80s.
There was many places in Miami that were just swamps. Okay, let's start with that. We're just swamps, okay? Brickell, okay, fine. 50%, 40%, 60% of Brickell maybe was built with drug money. That's okay. Nonetheless, you know who built Brickell? Cuban Americans. Without Cuban Americans, Brickell wouldn't exist.
Period.
And city of Miami and probably
and
even
Kendall.
Like
and
Kendall aspects of the beach. So the Cuban Americans from the 60s and 70s, the educated ones, brother, those are your business owners. Those are your attorneys. Those are your doctors. My aunt, her name, which I think it's probably still there, her name was on the building of Miami-Dade College Kendall campus.
That's amazing.
All right? From Havana, Cuba. Very educated, though. All right? Maria C. Hernandez building. So those generations built Miami. Their contributions, brother, can never be measured.
And you could take it to another step forward. When our generation grew up in the 90s, we were the reason why South Beach became South Beach. The party, the lights, the shiny lights, all that craziness was, and it wasn't the way it is now. It used to be classy. You used to go to the beach and it was chill. Like you had nice parties, the Cardoza, you had things that we created that then they came. And what happens is when people watch us in a movie or they watched that in the 90s and early 2000s and they watch the glamour of like Miami Beach and all stuff, they thought that this was some like Wild West go party and go berserk type environment, and it wasn't. It was everybody. I remember, look, I'm gonna tell you a story. I remember being I remember Bongos when it first opened.
Yeah, sure, of course.
How
man.
that was like the shit, that was the club.
Saturday nights
Remember?
at Bongos.
And that place would get like jammed up. I remember one year I went there, Pitbull was having like a release, or he was doing something with Puff Daddy. I forgot what it was. Like it was like something was going on, and I went there and I'm hanging out there, and a girl came up to me from California and she said, I have to stop you for a second. And I said, what's up? And she goes, where are you from? And I said, Cuban. She goes, man, I am so orgullosa of seeing you like this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm seeing me like what? She goes, the way you dress, how Americanized, the way you behave, I've been watching you, da, da. And I was like, oh, thank you, you know? And I said, aren't the Hispanics in California? She goes, no, our people over there are not as they haven't Americanized the way, or not Americanized, I don't know the word, like
hip in fashion, in style,
Americanized,
connected to the trends, you know.
Correct. It was something that hit me because I didn't understand it. I was like, she left like a little like thing in my mind. And then when I went to California for the first time, to Calistoga over in Napa Valley, I realized it. I went and we went to go eat at a restaurant, and bro, I put my name on the list. I'm not thinking anything of it, whatever. Bro, like 30 minutes pass by, I see people getting sit down everywhere. What the fuck's going on here, bro? So after a minute, I'm like, oh yeah, call the manager over here. So a manager comes, and I'm like, look, that table got sat. I'm sitting here with my significant other. I'm still like waiting for a table. Like, what is going on? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Blah, 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 blah. They sat us down. And I'm still pissed off about it, right? And then they sit us down in the middle of the sun. Like, everybody has umbrellas. They put me in the middle of the sun. I'm like, oh yeah, I came back up to, there's that table. Can I sit in that table with the umbrella? Yes, absolutely. Bro, they sit me on the table. Okay. I'm like already like livid. Like,
yeah, of course.
So, and I'm starving. We've been bike riding through Napa. I'm like starving. So I go and I walk to the bathroom. On the way to the bathroom, our Mexican server comes up to me. She goes, man, I'm so glad you said something. And I was like, what do you mean? Like of course I'm gonna say something like, this is a disaster. What's going on? Like,
Yeah.
she goes, no, but that's how they treat us here. So they thought you were Mexican. That's why they treated you.
And then, bro, so like a racial profiling issue
Immediately.
in California.
Immediately. Wow. And at that time, right? I don't know how it is now, but that's when it all tied back into what that lady told me at Bongos. And I was like, oh, I get it. Because it was there. Right. And that's one of the most democratic states that you could find.
It's a completely blue state, so I would say so.
But think about that, and the treatment, I kid you not, was like, after that was gold. But even the buster came up to me afterwards, was like, he was Mexican, he was like, hey man, in Spanish, he told me, mira, mucho gusto conocerlo. He shook my hand. Like, I was just like, bro, like, what is going on? How are they treating these people here? Like, you know what I mean? It was like confusing to me. But there's ties into all this stuff, but that goes back to the point that we were, as our generation grew up in Miami, we wanted to be Americanized. We wanted to be.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, we didn't want to stand aside. We weren't trying to. We were assimilating to what America wanted to see: successful, young, people.
Yeah. I mean, but look, that's what's supposed to happen, though. I mean, assimilation is what's supposed to be, right? Like, that's one thing that blows my mind is this. Immigrants that come here, and let's just say legal immigrants. For a second, let's just forget the illegal part, right? Because we know that part is being dealt with. Legal immigrants, they come over here, and because this is a free country, they're here bashing this country. That I don't understand. You see, if I was to go to another country myself, if I go to Germany, I have to assimilate. I just have to.
Period.
I cannot, I can't tell Germans that they have to learn English because of me. That's not how it works. If you come here.
And you can't go over there and be like, hey, where's my bistec, arroz y frijoles negros? Like, why are you guys cooking like that?
No, you can't. No. I would have to learn German at some point.
Of course.
Maybe not as fast as somebody else, but I owe that to the country that's giving me an opportunity.
That would be your goal.
Here we have to speak English. I'm not saying we can't speak Spanish, right? But here we have to speak English. And if you're not proud of the country where you're at, brother, I don't understand why anybody would want to do that to themselves. I mean, I love this country with all its problems.
Here's the thing. And I'm gonna point it back to myself. Like, when I came up north, right? I came to the town that I'm in because it's a small town. Everybody's nice. They say good morning. They see how you're doing. Everybody's personable. It's like old fashioned, like 1950.
Right. No, good values, good values.
Morals, values, integrity, great people. What do? Am I going to come here and bring my Miami attitude and be an asshole and be arrogant and be a dick? No.
Right. No.
I wanted to let go of that out of me and be more like them.
Yeah.
I didn't come here to change their way of being. I came here to assimilate to that beautiful thing.
And you can't, because it wouldn't be
otherwise
fair.
I wouldn't have moved here.
Right. But the thing is, you can't, even if you wanted to, because it wouldn't be the right thing and it's not the fair thing.
But that's what people try to do.
They try to do that here. And that's what look, you don't want me to talk about freedoms? Because I'm going to give you some answers that may make some people uncomfortable.
Say it.
I actually believe that in this country, we have too much freedom. We got too much freedom. We shouldn't have this much freedom.
What type of freedom are you referring to?
Freedom of speech is way too much in this country, brother.
Why?
That needs to be toned down because it's too much.
But explain to me, give me an example of too much freedom of speech.
So the immigrants, the legal immigrants, the example I just gave you earlier, same thing. If I had it my way, I would not allow it to bash this country. I just wouldn't. Burning flags, never allow it. Like, I think about this. My father, growing up, would talk to me about Spain, right? Not because my dad was born there. Our ancestry is German and Spanish, but he went to Spain like 1,000 times and he loves it. He would say to me, in the old days when Spain had Franco, okay, as their dictator, as their president, whatever, he said that those were Spain's golden years. Did that guy do everything perfect? No. He had an issue with homosexuals. He had an issue with many things. But the economy was the best when that dude ruled, okay? There was law and order everywhere. Crime was low. Franco was the best thing to happen to Spain. And again, that's controversial because a lot of folks are going to say, oh my God, he did this, he did that. Okay, the bottom line, Franco kept that country afloat the right way. Now, it's a leftist trash can right now, right? So that's what I mean. Too much freedom is not good either. I'm not saying that I would ever want to live under a certain rule where I can't breathe and I can't choose, work, employment, how to dress. That's too much. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this country, there's way too much freedom here, man. And that's the problem.
There's a slippery slope when you get into like allowing people not allowing people to express themselves and say whatever they want to say, but there's consequences what you're saying. You can say whatever you want, but there's going to be consequences.
It's too much, man. Freedoms in this country are honestly too much.
But I agree with you. Nobody should be burning any flag.
Nobody should
be
burn
the American flag.
And it's not that you can't express an opinion. Look, dude, like there should be respect for the office of the president. Whether it's Trump, it's Biden, it's Obama, it's JFK, it's Reagan, whoever it is, there should be a certain respect. This country has declined in their morals in general, right? You should refer to the president always as president, okay? Donald Trump in this case, President Trump, whatever, not Donald Trump. It's even little things. We just got into a place here where there are like no rules. There's no consequences. There's almost, you know what I'm saying? It's the closest thing to lawlessness from a moral standpoint in this country. And that's what I'm saying. There's just way too much freedom. There's way too much freedom. The whole transvestite movement, or whatever you want to call it, that would not have happened in Franco's Spain, okay? It's too much. We allow too much. And that dysfunction hurts the morality, and it causes decay of the moral fiber of a country. And it affects our children too. Dude, it's like a horse. You got to put blinders on your kid so they can grow up properly, so they can function. Because there's disgusting and grotesque acts happening all around them.
But why do you think I took my kids out of that environment immediately?
There you go.
But the reason why was because I noticed that in Miami right away, even when I started going back for business, I would bring my son. He was only like 3 or 4 at the time, and I would bring him back over, and he would be around my business partner around the time. And his son was maybe 7 or 8. And one day my kid tells me, he's like, oh, he was showing me videos of naked women. And I was like, what the incarnations are we talking about? Pero tú me entiendes.
Wow. Hey, but that's, that's pretty out there.
Pero do you get what I'm trying to tell you? And that's
no,
the
I get it.
I get it. Now, how do I explain that to my son at 3 or 4, where he just saw me thinking that he was around somebody that was going to understand that he was a child?
No. Hey, but it's dark times, man. That's the thing. You don't have to turn the lights off to know these are dark times.
Of course.
These are dark times in society, and it's worldwide, right? It's actually worldwide. But I'm just saying, in our country, the best country in the world for so many reasons, at the same time, these freedoms that we love to talk about and glorify and brag about, I believe that they're a little too much.
You see why the reason why part of my brain wants to disagree with you with the freedom of speech, and I love you, but the only reason I want to disagree with that is because I feel that that ignites these imbeciles to go and shoot somebody like Charlie Kirk, to do stupid crazy shit.
We don't want that either.
Because you got to understand that.
We don't want that.
To me, I don't care what your opinion is. I'm not gonna hurt you over it. That's not my. ¿Tú me entiendes? Like, you could say whatever you want to say, as long as you don't bring that to my children or to my family. As long as you're not trying to do something directly to harm. But when you start cutting the sand, right, and you start telling people you can't say this or you can't say that, the next one they'll persecute, my brother, is the Christian. The next thing they'll persecute is the guy that talks about Jesus.
Yeah, but here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. You mentioned people approaching your kid. How about Netflix approaching everybody's kid?
That's disgusting.
But that's what's been happening. You see what I'm saying? So it falls into the
That's
same
a
column.
corporation. That corporation should be punished.
But that's what I'm saying. Too
But
much
that's
freedom.
different. That's different. You know what the problem with this country is? That they allow a corporation to behave and to act as if they're an individual.
Right.
You're
but
not
if
an
there was
individual.
right. But if there was consequences, right? If there's consequences, then there's less of that. There's more because they operate freely. Why? Because this country has every freedom under the sun. And I get what you're saying. Like even saying it sounds weird. Like, damn, bro, we shouldn't have like that many freedoms. I get how it sounds, right? But I'm just saying, if you really analyze it, that's probably the issue that we have.
I'm in agreement with you. If you came into this country and you're seeking asylum, you need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
This isn't your country yet, my brother.
I didn't want to say it like that, but yeah, pretty much.
This isn't your country yet.
No, you gotta work.
You gotta earn your keep.
Yeah.
It's just like when I moved up here, I didn't get involved in what's going on until people told me, until you're here 10 years, B, you're not from here yet. Okay, great. I stay to I let what they're doing be what they do, and I assimilate to what's going on. I understand it, I learn, and then I behave and I act accordingly. You come from another country and you want to seek asylum here because we're the best, right? Shut the fuck up and let us handle what we need to handle, and then you could jump in once you get your paperwork and your stuff done right. Then you can, get into that situation. But there's the thing about it is, where I see it's murky with what you're saying with the freedom of speech is this, that if you have crazy individuals, insane, right? That all of a sudden,
and they're usually on the left,
wherever they're at, right? I don't even know anymore because I can't even see which ones we got them all over the place. But yes, what I've seen on the majority side, there's no tolerance, right, on that side. So let me tell you, what I could see in the future start happening, the name Jesus is becoming outlawed. So you can't say the name Jesus without people wanting to shoot you over it. Why?
In many countries, yeah.
Oh, why? Why is that name so dangerous?
Because it represents morality. And it represents love in its true form.
Say that part again. It represents love in its true form.
It represents love in its true form. In its true form. And forgiveness and patience and obedience and all these other things that they hate. Nigeria has slaughtered like 200,000 Christians. So this is happening in a lot of places, And I don't want to get into the sensitive part of things where there's another religion that's slowly trying to make headway. You know what I mean? Into Western culture, right?
Be careful. We won't be able to air it.
Yeah. So anyway, that religion has been rearing its head, right?
Of course.
Trying to
undermine
to form a dominance, right? A type of dominance and things. So, man, I hate to say it, but I think it gets to a point where you got to be selfish. And if you love Jesus, as much as you say you do, and I don't mean you specifically, I'm saying generally, right? So whoever professes that, you should want your country to be a Christian country. You know what I'm trying to say? You should want where you are to be a Christian atmosphere. See, that's how I feel about it. Like, I don't like Putin, right? For me, Putin is crazed. That's a whole nother, profile. That guy has issues, but he has done things in that country that make the country safe. That country doesn't have an issue with these other religions.
But be honest with yourself. He's done things in that country that make you sometimes wish you were living there.
For safety, well, not for safety, for Christianity, right? Those reasons, I can tell you that they're superior in those regards,
Because there's a moral obligation that our society needs to have to understand that there should be no tolerance. This is where I think you're going with it. There should be no tolerance of evil. That's where freedom of speech should cut off. Because anything that's not for good, everything that's not for good, it's like a criminal. A criminal doesn't have the right, because he has freedom, to go and kill and rob and pillage because he has freedom. So it's the same thing. Evil is the opposite of love, right?
Right. Yep.
So that should immediately be outlawed. That's
Yep.
what should be outlawed. Evil. Like if you're talking to me about demonic things that are gonna ruin society, morality, values, integrity,
Right.
that immediately, hey, shut the fuck up.
Correct. But here's the problem. We have the official church of Satan in this country, meaning that's a reorganization. You can look it up. It exists.
Of course.
It exists. And again, it ties to what I'm saying. That's part of the problem.
Because it's
right?
tolerated.
It's tolerated. And that's what I'm trying to say. The freedoms that are afforded to us here are plenty. And they're ample. And they're far-reaching. And they're wide. And I'm just saying that has caused a lot of the problems that we have.
We're getting into a place where it's kind of like when what was the guy's name that they had to choose between Jesus and Barber? What was his name?
Yes.
His name was in the tip of my tongue. Barbarous or something like that. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We're now in that same place as a society, and we're choosing evil versus good because we don't want to live with those rules and regulations and that love.
That's it. I mean, that's it.
And most of the people, like my son asked me a day, he said something to me about he goes, Daddy, how do atheists believe in God? Could they ever believe in God? And I go, it's a funny story about that. I told him, I said, there's no atheists in the foxhole. And he goes to me, what's the foxhole? And I said, listen, back in World War I, there was the biggest transition from atheists to Christianity to believers in God.
Yep.
And the reason that happened was there was a lot of atheists at the time that were in the military. They would get stuck in a foxhole. That's when you're in the middle of a barricade, everybody's dead around you, and you're the only one surviving. You could hear the enemy coming, and they're stomping right around you, and they're like, hey, find anybody that's alive and kill them. The atheists at that point will go, all right, here's one for the books. God, if you do exist and you get me out of this, I'll put my life to dedicate to you. I'll give my life to you.
Yeah.
And they'll just lie down and close their eyes, and the enemy will walk all the way around them, and they would survive and come back as full-blown believers in God.
Yeah.
Why? Because sometimes, and my friend said this the other day, he goes, sometimes, Bethel, people have to get to the last thing in their life that they can't depend on themselves anymore. They can't depend on the government. They can't depend on anybody. And they have to find God. And sometimes it takes that much to get to that point. So to me, a lot of times I see a lot of people that are not, living their life, I think, in the most glorious way that they can live it. Because some people have so much potential, but they're not there yet, and they're gonna get there. So I don't judge them because I understand.
Right.
But everybody's gonna have that opportunity. You just have to be open to it. The key of it is, it goes back to what you said. This side of what we're talking about is love. This other side is bringing all the toxicity not only to you but to your family and to your mind and to your heart. Why would you even entertain that? But sometimes it takes a lot of bad things to happen in your life.
It's terrible
for you to figure that puppy out.
Yep. Hey, but I'm going to tell you something though. God, Jesus, he is always extending his hands, okay, to those that haven't yet surrendered. He's always extending his hand, always. He never gives up.
But
right?
It's up to them.
Yeah, but I'm going to share this with you. So I've always been Christian. I've always had strong moral compass and faith and everything. But when I was younger, I was always interested in the possibility of aliens and UFOs, and are they real? And are they coming from another planet? Is it interdimensional? Whatever, right? All these kind of things.
You entertained it.
I was also interested in the paranormal, as far as like what's on the other side, right? Spirits real, all these kind of things. But I'm going to share this with you. as I've gotten older, my faith in Jesus has become much stronger and stronger and stronger. And I'm to the point now that I have zero interest in UFOs, aliens, paranormal, whether it's real, whether it's not. I am only concerned and I'm consumed, and I only have enough space for my life with Jesus and what that looks like when I leave this plane. That's it. There's nothing else to it for me. I don't think about it anymore. That's all I care about.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, if a documentary, comes up, I'll watch it. It's just entertainment, curiosity. But I no longer feel that curiosity.
You know how dead set I've always been about that? I remember my friend and I, we were talking about this, and he had this whole thing for years. Carl, you'll see him in some of my podcasts. He was like, aliens, and Bethel, there's aliens, and there's this, and there's that. And I was like, no, bro, those are demons, my brother. You're confusing them. And here's the thing
That's the
with me.
interpretation. You're right. That is your
They
interpretation.
want to confuse you. So you don't believe in God. That's the whole thing about the Big Bang, and the whole thing is to get you to not have any yearning for a higher power or for a higher you, because it's all to bring you down. So when I look at aliens and all this other stuff, to me, I've always seen it. Even as a child, I would look at that and I would say I knew that there was something, like it just it pushed me away. Like I just looked at that, and then when I read this book, Behold the Great Pale Horse.
Behold the Pale Horse. I read that like 20 years ago.
When I read that,
written by William Cooper.
Correct. When I read that book, and when I saw his interviews and all that stuff, I was like, 1000%, it's not that. All it is confusion. So what happens is, I told my friend at that time, and he was like, no, you're wrong. This is like this, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, bro, whatever you want. And we never discussed it again. Years passed by, 10 years. He comes back to me and goes, it is like that, how you said, huh? These are demons? I was like, they're demons, brother. Because here's the thing. There's these levels to spirituality, right? Being Christian, however you want to look at it. Because to me, even though religion in itself, it doesn't justify the beautifulness of God and all this other stuff, because we're so much deeper than that. But to me, I told him, I said, my brother, what it is we're living in a time where they tell you that these things don't exist, that the supernatural that you were discussing, that's just like it's only there for witchcraft and voodoo and all this other. No, my brother, that is so real, because we're not fighting the flesh. We're fighting what? Principalities. We're fighting these higher powers, because what's happening is there's a battle between good and evil going on all the time. And some people are committed to their side. So we have to be committed to our side.
Yeah.
So
no doubt.
When I look at these things, I look at it and I go, you know what? In my mind, I go, all it is distractions, like you said. We're just living in these times where if you don't keep yourself, like you said, like a racehorse like this, facing forward, following, because my goal has been for a while now to be more like him, right?
100%.
And cut everything around me and everything that doesn't let me focus on that. So the key of it is just that. It's just distractions to confuse you, so you lose faith. So you go, oh, an alien came. Let me worship that now. This is exciting. This is gonna be great. They're powerful. Yeah. And we're living in a day and time, my bro, where they'll put a hologram on you, and you'll be like, oh my God, look at this. It's real.
Yeah.
And people, in the majority of people are sheeple. You know what they're gonna do? Go worship that immediately.
Yeah. Anything but the truth. It's anything but the truth.
Because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe. It's hard. It's hard to accept the truth, because with the truth comes what? Change,
obedience, modification of behavior, your way of thinking,
bro.
faith.
It's a lot,
bro. It's real hard. Look, and I think we're getting close to to the end here. But the last thing that comes to my mind that I could share with you is I remember that I wanted to sell a house that I had, and I hired a realtor, a guy with a great reputation around town, etc., etc. He says to me, I think I could sell your house for $1 million. It was probably valued a little less, to like $960, right? But whatever. He's like $1 million. So I was standing in my living room with him, and he kept emphasizing how good he is at selling homes and his track record. And I go, listen, bro, I already know this. This is why you're here. However, I'm going to share one thing with you. And this is what I said to him. I said, if God wants you to sell this house, you're going to sell this house. If God doesn't want you to sell this house, my man, there's nothing that you can do. You can be out there, take off all your clothes, hold up billboards. I mean, there's nothing you can do, okay, if God doesn't want you to sell this house.
That's right.
So with that, please feel no pressure. Exactly what I said to him. Feel no pressure. You know something, brother? That house never sold. And he called me, because the contract was like 3 months. So he did like a little follow-up. So 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he's like, hey, man, the market is not moving like I thought. And I said to him, do you remember what I told you in my living room? And, he forgot. And I reminded him. And he said, oh, man, damn, that's right. Okay. Called me a month and a half after that for another update. Hey, man, the market, da-da-da. Brother, every time I have to remind him. Remember what I told you in the living room? It's that simple. That's what I believe, because my faith gives that to me. But you know what I'm saying? But I can't pressure that.
But you're okay with it.
Oh no, this is the truth.
We come to a point, Willie, we come to a point as men in life that we have to let go of the reins. Yeah. For a long time in my life, I wanted to control, I wanted to hold the reins tight because of safety, right? And eventually God said to me, Papito, let go of the reins because you're not doing nothing. I'm the one that's been doing everything. And he showed me how. Because he said to me, you do it then. And when I did it, I failed.
Exactly. And if people want to know what that translates to, it sounds something like this. If you're in a relationship, okay, and you're not sure, or you want to be sure if that person is for you, you pray about it. And you tell God, tell Jesus this, Lord, if this person is for me, thank you, and please let it work out. If they're not for me, please remove them from my life. Lord, if this business is for me, if this partnership is for me, please let it flourish. If it's not for me, please eliminate it. That's what it sounds like to be a true believer.
Because you got to be able to let it go.
You got to let it go.
Okay.
You got to be okay with it, and understand that all aspects of your life belong to
the greater power. Yeah.
And not you.
Because there's nothing you can do that he can't do better.
Oh, nothing, brother. Nothing, man. And his timing, is real weird and it's real complex. And
to say the least.
Yeah, man. But it's interesting because it's all about what you just said. It's about giving up control, which is hard for humans, right? But if you give up that control, he can work wonders in your life.
Miracles.
It doesn't manifest how you want, right? So it's not in 24 hours. It's not in 3 days or a week or a month. Not that it can't be either, right? But generally speaking, he's gonna do it his way, and he's gonna surprise us every time, bro. But a life with Jesus is a life that's fulfilled. It's generally a life that's fulfilled. There's no brokenness, there's no emptiness. You know what I'm saying? It's like he's telling us, bring your emptiness, bring your broken pieces, and I'm gonna put it back together. And that's what people. I wish that everybody, had, knew that and could ultimately feel that. You know what I'm saying?
You got to think to yourself that this world is just smoke and mirrors. So by the time you finish chasing all the things of this world, you're going to turn around with an empty hand. You're not going to be able to appreciate, you're going to miss out. And you're going to look back and you're going to be like, I wasted it all, because all this material things, all these things in this world, everything that's going on, it's a gimmick. It's like a replica of what the devil's trying to present to people to lure them in, to keep them here.
Yeah.
Entertained. Because that's what you're being. You're being entertained.
You said it. Entertainment.
This is all the show. It's a big stage.
Yeah. Man, I used to watch like anybody, right? I used to watch foreign movies, whatever. Like
I was gonna tell you, a couple minutes ago, I was gonna mention
House,
Friday the 13th.
Well, those are more funny. I'm talking about the ones where supposedly it's based on true events.
Which one?
House. I don't know, like this house over here and that other house, and
I've never seen
and
those.
the priest. I used to watch those for entertainment. Same thing when my faith grew, bro. I'm just not interested. And like I was telling my girlfriend the other day, right? I was like, honey, I think your sister likes these movies and she wants to watch this new one coming out. I said, but you could count me out. You know what I'm saying? Count me out. Why?
You don't want that to enter your spirit.
I don't think it can.
It
Because my
can.
faith is too strong. No, not me.
No,
my
I'm
faith
talking
is too
about
strong.
it in general.
No, I get it.
You're
It's just
opening
bad
yourself
mojo.
up to
Yeah, it's just
nasty
bad
things.
mojo. No, but look, the truth is, I don't think it could enter me. Me personally, I don't. But I just think it's bad mojo. It's that
Of
simple.
course, but that's what
It's
we're
bad
talking.
mojo.
That's exactly the point I was just making. It is bad mojo.
Yeah, man. I just don't want it. You know what I'm saying? Like I just don't need it. Like you know what? Like I'm just not interested, bro.
To
I'm just
go
not
off to your
interested,
point, and I was gonna mention this before, and it's funny you mentioned this now. When we were talking about aliens and all that stuff, because I was gonna compare it to that. But when I was a kid, I used to watch Friday the 13th, Freddy Krueger, all that stuff, and I used to be like, "Oh my god!" And I used to enjoy them. They were funny, like you said. They were crazy, dude. There came a point in my life, and I want to say I was probably like 16 or 17. Gave me asco. Watch, I couldn't even, like, if somebody turned that shit on around me, I'd be like, bro, turn that off. I don't even want that off. And you know when it happened? When somebody showed me that Portergeist movie the first time, and they showed me like clips of like it started, and I saw the little girl, and I was like, bro, this is some demonic ass shit, bro. I don't want to see none of that shit. And it is entering. You're opening up a fucking portal every time you put on shit like that, because what it is, and it's been proven, they're doing spells and all sorts of shit on music. You think they're not doing it to movies, especially those type of movies? And I felt it in my soul. And at that time, I wasn't as convicted as I am now. Like at that time, I was still like, partying and doing whatever. But you put on one of those movies, and it wasn't that I was scared of it. It was that it just like gave me this weird vibe that I like. It's like it almost kind of like represented hell to me, and I was like, I don't even want to see what that shit looks like.
Yeah. No, but you've grown in your faith. You see, that sounds like what I'm also, feeling too. I think you've grown in your faith because I think that's evidence of that. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that you've grown closer to the Lord, and so those things, man, become opposite to the Lord, and you don't want anything that's opposite to the Lord. You know what I'm trying to say?
It's
So
almost
it's not that.
repugnante to watch.
Yeah, it's not fear. Yes, there's no fear attached to that. It's not, oh my God, I'm scared. No, you just don't want it near you. You just don't want it in your life.
Bro, my brother, I used to listen to Biggie. I used to listen to Tupac. I used to listen to, that was my favorite era of music, all that stuff. The Chronic, all that stuff. My brother, you couldn't even play that music after the last 15 years. For some reason, my brain, if that a song comes on that Big Pop, all the songs that I used to love comes on, I have to, hey, skip that. I don't even want to hear that shit. Because it's all, to me, all I hear is violence, criminal activity. It's polluting my mind. I don't want to be in that negative energy. It's just toxic to me. And when I was a kid, they would glorify that to you. And we lived like, oh wow, the da-da-da.
Sure.
Now it's like I think to myself, I can't believe I used to listen to that shit. Like
but listen, congratulations to you, brother, because that means that you've grown in your faith. Straight up, that's what that means.
You have to dive in. You know what I'm saying? Not stick
you
your
gotta
foot
surrender. In. You gotta surrender.
Surrender to it.
Bro, listen, I pray on my knees every morning, every single morning. I'm talking about every morning, right? I kneel every morning. And part of my prayer sometimes is, Lord, I hope that everybody in this world could find you. I hope that everybody could surrender to you. I hope that everybody could give up that control and give it over to you. That's part of my prayer every day, brother.
Because when you're happy, and you find true love and you find great things and beautiful things in life, you look at it different. You want everybody else to experience it.
Absolutely, man.
My friend Carl told me that the other day. He goes, your problem is, Bethel, you want everybody to experience this love that you have and God and all that stuff. And he goes, some people don't want that. So you have to let them let them do what they're going to do, because everybody has their own timing, and some people are not. God is not calling all of them. He's calling, he's not calling anybody. He's saying, come and find me diligently. So if you're not about that. There came a point where I had to kind of lay back and say to myself, you know what? Even though I want these beautiful things for everybody, some people are not there yet. Some people don't want it.
Sure. Oh, sure. It's a combination. Some people just don't want it. Some people are just ignorant to it, and other people are just not ready. You know, I mean, they're taking baby steps. You know, and yeah, the people where you could help to accelerate those steps a bit are your immediate loved ones. Really, that's it.
Well, they
Beyond
have
your
to,
household,
but they have to. Even your immediate loved ones in your family, they
Yeah.
have to want it.
No, they have to want it, but you gotta like introduce, right? You know what I mean? You gotta, buy them a Bible, speak to them. You know what I mean? And at least if you do that, and then they still wanna, I don't know, like take a little bit of time. Hey, I guess it's fair. That then becomes either way. Every relationship with God and man is one
personal
direction, and that it's personal. This direction. That that's it. Nobody could interfere either way. But I think for your kids, for your significant other, I think that everybody has to be.
Oh,
at
in your
least,
immediate family,
yeah,
the things
everybody's
that
got to
are
be on the same page there.
under your guidance as a man, as the leader of your home, 1000%. But you do that by leading by example. You do that by
Right,
them
of course.
seeing your faith
Yeah.
and your love for God and how you put Him
For
above
sure.
everything. And I don't even pressure my kids about it. I don't talk to them. Like, I talk to them about God, obviously, and I talk to them about the way I feel, but I never impose myself on them
Right.
because I want them to build that relationship
Right. No,
on their
yeah.
own.
No, I get it. Yeah, I
You know
get
what
it.
I mean?
Yeah, listen, everybody has a different way of coming to terms. You know what I mean? With what is right. For you, for exactly your household. Um, listen, I don't think there's a right answer. Or probably even a wrong answer. I think everybody operates, as best they can. You know what I mean?
You know
And
what's one thing my boy
yeah.
said the other day? He goes to me, Bethel, the the best way, and you can watch, it's one of the episodes, a couple before this, he goes to me, you know what it is you got to wait for that person to come to you and say, hey man, I have this decision to make and I have this one, but I feel like this one's a bad one. And they come to you, or they come asking about God, or they come to you because a lot of times, and this happened to me when I was a kid, where it was force fed into me, and I was like, oh, like, because it wasn't that I didn't have a connection and a love for God, because I was raised since I was a
Right.
baby with God. The thing about it is, I felt when I was a kid, I was like, if I'm forced to go to church and I'm sitting there and I don't want to be there, I'm being disrespectful to God.
Yeah, man.
Do
Listen,
you see where I'm coming from with that?
yeah, if you're young, we don't have the maturity and the wisdom just yet to give value to that, right? We see it sometimes like a disturbance in our life. I get what you're saying, especially when we're young, man. Like want to hang out with our friends, play. I don't know. My day was Nintendo,
Yeah.
right? So to have to be in church or Christian activity, or, anything like that, and you're young, it's hard to appreciate that. So, but look, God knows that though. He knows what's in your heart all the time.
But he knew,
So
like, that's
he
why I didn't want to
knows.
be disrespectful. But you know what was my biggest thing as a kid? It was the hypocrisy in the church. I would watch them because I've always been a watcher as I was a little kid. And I would watch how they would be nice to each other in front of their face and then talk bad about this person and then this person and that one. And there was
Oh man,
burritos and this.
but that's a whole nother episode,
So
bro.
to me, yeah. So
You
to
know,
me, I would sit there, and as a kid, I would go, you know what? I don't feel comfortable in this environment. And then
yeah,
it got to a point where at times I would sit there and I felt it. I would tell my dad, I would go, hey, until I feel like that I want to be here 100%, I can't go because my mind's wandering off and I'm being disrespectful to God. So imagine the type of like mindset that I had as a kid, that I was like, until I'm like solidified, and maybe it was the wrong way of thinking, whatever it was, but it's the way I was thinking at the time, and I had respect for what it was. So I was like, and my dad was like, okay, it, don't
yeah. I
steer
mean,
too far.
pastors and priests have been disappointing, right? For millennia, decades. So many stories out there, right, of wrongdoing, you know, and abuse, you know, abusing children, elderly, financially, sexually,
Financially.
etc., etc., etc. You know, and that does make you, you know, if you're young and impressionable, it makes you question the church or any church, you know. And then it's like, do I, you know, like, do I really want to be part of that? You know, do I really want to, like, you know, invest my, you know, my time, my effort, perhaps money, you know, in that, if you're hearing these stories. So I get that too. You know, totally understand that. You know, that's also a personal decision. You know, like, what church do you go to? You know, what pastor is worthy enough, right, to preach to you. You know what I
That's
mean?
an important fact that
You
you
know?
just brought up there, because that's the way I feel with my kids. I'm so
Yes.
picky about who I bring my kids to and
Yeah.
who I bring them around, that, and the reason behind that is because I know that they're like sponges, and I know that if I bring them to the wrong shepherd, the wrong person,
Yeah.
they're going to pick up on stuff that they're doing, and it's going to
Mhm.
disillusion them
Yep.
from
Yep. Yep.
the reality, the beautiful thing of God. So I'm
Sure.
very cautious of who and what type of environment I bring them into when it has to do with God. That's very sacred
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you should be picky, you know, in every aspect, especially in today's world, you know. So 100%, brother.